Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome. As you can tell, I had 3 coffees, but today I wanted to share a couple of adjustments I've been making that really helped me manage my time a little bit better and also just stop running late. If you're anything like me, you tend to overestimate how much time it takes for you to get from one place to another, or how much time it takes for you to actually get something done before being able to move on to the next task. While all of us may not be super type A and OCD, chances are that if you are rushing from one place to another, you're probably not functioning as optimally as you should be. Aside from the fact that being constantly late is also a complete lack of respect for other people's time, it's also a really good indicator in terms of our expectations for ourselves and also the parameters that we operate in. My first adjustment was actually setting more realistic expectations for myself. But I tend to set my alarms at the most random times, like 7:21 or 5:51, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets hung up on arbitrary numbers. For example, getting up at 5 AM sharp, or expecting ourselves to get up as early as we usually do after a night out, or an exceptionally tiring day. Getting hung up on a number that has been glamorized by society isn't really the most sustainable way to go. I found that actually giving myself a little bit more flexibility to take things into account or give myself a little bit of extra time has also helped me make sure that I estimate time a little bit more accurately. Hitting the snooze button again and again is unfortunately something a lot of us struggle with. Consider this: if you set your alarm to go off at the latest possible reasonable time, would you still indulge yourself by hitting that snooze button? You probably wouldn't, because you know that there's a realistic time frame for you to get to somewhere by. The next thing I accounted for was actually the steps in between. To piggyback off the previous point, a lot of us tend to overestimate our capabilities to give an accurate portrayal of how much time it takes to get something done or to get somewhere. Believe it or not, there is actually a term for this, and it's called the planning fallacy, which obviously makes it totally legit. And this is where the fudge ratio comes in. The fudge ratio is a way to compare 2 metrics side by side: the estimated time it takes for us to do something and the actual time it would take. For example, if you had to get from your home to an event, typically people would factor in the time it takes to get ready, drive there, and maybe find parking if they are very detail oriented. However, the number would more than likely be different if you actually tracked the amount of time it took for you to get there. Little things like taking a few minutes to iron out the outfit you're wearing, or stopping to fill up some gas along the way. All of these little things add up and ultimately contribute to a delay in our schedules. The last adjustment I made was actually to schedule an end time to the appointment prior. Now, this one is a little different from the previous two because it typically involves other people outside of yourself. And if you're an introvert like me, that can be a little bit tricky and intimidating to navigate sometimes. But I promise you, it's well worth the trouble. Having a set time to end an appointment gives you a boundary that you can actually use to your advantage. That way you can be a lot more accurate in terms of how you choose to schedule your day. I found that this made the biggest difference in how I manage my time, because I realized that the main variable in why I was constantly running late for things was because I would tend to get too involved in a meeting and an interaction, especially if this was a social or personal sort of hangout. And even though I was hesitant about implementing it at first because I didn't want to come across as rude, you would actually be surprised by how many people are open to this idea. Because funnily enough, they would also directly benefit from knowing when the meeting is due to end. So if there's one tip that you take from this video, it's definitely this one. As a wise man once said, time is a tool you can leave on the wall or wear on your wrist. Ultimately, time is a finite source that we can use to our advantage to live more fulfilling lives. And there you have it. Those were the main strategies that I used to really tighten up how I manage my time and not take my time and other people's time for granted. I think running late is something we can overcome fairly quickly if we are strategic and aware of it. But let me know, do you struggle with your time management, and do you run late very often? I know I'm pretty bad with the snooze button, especially if I have to get up outside of my regular sleep cycle. Thank you so much for choosing to share your time with me again today, and I will see you guys in the next one.